It appears that combining the two bond issuance would be better than having two bond issuance. So I have no concern with combining the two. This morning, I would like to move forward in making a motion to combine the two issuance, and also following make a motion to assign the various people that we need to work with in order to get this project moving. So if
if you don't mind, if we'll wait before you make a motion, so we. Okay, Mr. Brent.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I'm a little confused this morning because for about 3 or 4 months we've been sitting up here talking about making sure that we bid out different contracts and that everybody gets a piece of the pie and all of that type of thing. And this morning we're talking about that there's been decisions made that I don't know anything about. So are you one of the individuals that have been chosen, or who chose you? Or who chose anybody?
Nobody has chosen anybody. I can answer that question for you. This board would make the decision as to who would be selected on this project. The board attorney has not informed us that this does not come under professional consulting. So with professional consulting, then this board can move forward in delegating the responsibilities that are needed in order to carry out the transaction.
Again, who asked you to come into this particular process? I mean, how did you find out about this?
From the board attorney, from Tony Gill.
And you were asked to come in to do what?
To look at the transaction and analyze the possibility, the structure of the bond, the restructuring and the new money bond issue for the quarter.
When did that happen?
2 weeks ago now.
Let me say that I certainly did not select the company, and however, Mr. Stovall contacted me on last week to talk with him about providing services as the marketing company to sell the bonds. But as far as me making any kind of commitment, then I cannot do that, and I'm well aware of that. This board would have to make that decision. I alone cannot make that decision. I only have one vote.
Mr. President, I have just one last question. That is, I've been told that somebody else has been chosen for this particular project, a Dr. Irvin that I don't know anything about, never met. And it's already been promised that they're going to make $125,000. So I don't have any idea what's going on here. I'm a little confused.
Neither do I. Totally, God knows, totally confused.
But let me get into this.
I don't know who can make that kind of commitment about this board delegating. But I certainly, Ms. Irvin is not here. I hope that she comes in the morning, but she can certainly tell you that I have not made that kind of commitment, and wouldn't dare make that kind of commitment. I don't even know what services would cost. I don't even know what these gentlemen are going to receive in pay. So that's to suggest that someone has talked with her. I think she can explain who has talked with her. I have met with her. It's just like I've met with other individuals in this room that are interested in this project. We meet with other businesses all the time interested in doing business with us. But no commitment can be made until this board votes on who will work with us. So to insinuate anything else is totally ridiculous.
Well, I wouldn't insinuate this, Calvin. I was putting facts out there.
Okay, I would like to know who told you that, because I certainly didn't tell you that, and I don't think anybody else could have told you that.
Well, it's time for us to put the facts out there. Mr. putting the facts out there. So
Okay,
that's what
I think
Let
you
me-
can come
let me-
with an allegation that you should provide the messenger.
well, I'm
Okay.
not.
Let me do this then. Let me speak for me personally for a minute, and then we'll try to give each one of you an opportunity to speak. Having been one of those that have been a part of this from its inception, I gotta say that it's one of the most important projects that I know that we have been involved on, and I definitely want to see it finished. And I want to see you all when I'm going to finish it. I do see some gaps here that needs to be filled. Number one, I think that, and I'm just saying this before there's a vote taken. Number one, I think that we should examine several things. We should examine thoroughly what the real intent is and what we're hoping to accomplish. And at which time, in order, in my opinion, to do that, you need several pieces that's not here today, I don't think. And I've not shared this with, I don't guess, with anybody, maybe to some degree. I think we should, number one, I think we should get all of us together. Number two, I think we should get the big landowners such as the Vances and the Gaddises together. I think that we should involve the engineering individuals that is putting all this together, and gather these individuals together and come up with a comprehensive plan, laying out exactly what we need to try, what we're trying to accomplish. And at that point, you can come up with the kind of package that you need to move forward with this project. I think that now we're kind of, and I don't, for the lack of a better word on something else, I think we're haphazardly putting together a project that is too significant to this county, too important to this county to just try to put it together in that sense. I think you guys are going to have to put a little more time and effort, in my opinion, into this and bring these folks together and come up with the kind of project that needs to be put together. When this project was envisioned, and we've been it's been very good. We know we had it on the backs of earmarks, and we know full well that earmarks right now is gone. And another strategy has to be put together to make sure that this project don't die. And for me, for my tenure here, that is what I would support at this point.
Mr.
Y'all can
President,
do what you
I would like to address each comment that you have made. One of the comments, one of your concerns, you say you would like to know what is the real intent and what are we to accomplish. The real intent is to move forward in getting the Byron Clinton Corridor project financed. This project has been on the drawing board for over 20 years. We have discussed the project back and forth, and our main obstacle was the fact that we did not have all of our financing in place. So this morning, we're here to look at providing the additional financing that is needed in order to construct the corridor. And I think it's the consensus of the members of this board that we will start construction at both ends of the project. It has been estimated that we need $50 million. The project cost has been estimated at $96 million. Hinds County has a bond indebtedness of $262 million, meaning that if we wanted to finance any major construction project, we could look at financing up to $262 million. This project has been estimated, and also in order to reassure that we are able to make our payment schedule, we came in at a low figure of, it has been recommended that we come in at a very low figure of issuing a bond of $50 million. Number two, you said there were several pieces that are not here. So I don't know what you mean about those pieces. You mentioned we need to get all of us together. And as you mentioned the engineers, you mentioned the two developers, etc. The developers have discussed with us on many occasions what their plans are. The developers' plans have nothing to do with Hinds County financing the project. We hopefully on down the road will develop a PID or develop which we are a public-private partnership, which again will assist in financing the project, but the developers' names will not go on the dotted line of signing for the issuance of any of these bonds. They are exactly what they are, and that's developers. The engineers have already, as far as the role of the engineers, they have already designed and done the engineering groundwork for the project. What else can they do? The engineers' names, companies' names, will not go on the dotted line, signed on the dotted line. Let's see. Yeah, you mentioned it. I think I've addressed the landowners because they're not going to sign for the project. I guess I don't understand what it is. Oh, you said right now you think things are being done haphazardly. Putting a project of this magnitude together. Haphazardly, it has been done for over 20 years. Now we do have concrete information in place to move this project forward.
Okay.
Valid information. However, we cannot move it until we select individuals to help us as far as the schedule of financing and etc. And this board cannot do that until we name individuals. You know, like I know, that you can't put the schedule together. We don't have the expertise within Hinds County government to do it. So we're going to have to go outside and rely upon those individuals that have the professionalism. What purpose would it serve to bring all these additional people together when they have already been brought together, when they have already done their work, done their share of work? Do you think that the engineers have not presented us with a good design plan? Do you think the developers are not going to move forward with the project? The two major people that are interested I do know one has made a commitment, but like the last time I talked with that individual, he has said that if Hinds County doesn't make a move, he even said over 20, hanging on to this project for over 20 years. If Hinds County doesn't make a move, he's going to move on. The other major landowner has said he's not going to develop. He's going to sell his land. What is, I guess I don't understand, what is it that you need from these individuals? These individuals, again, and I want to reiterate that these individuals are not going to sign on the dotted line. It's going to be this board. The reason we're having to issue bonds for the additional funding of the project is because we don't have the entire amount to bring this project to fruition. So that's why we're here for the purpose of issuing bonds. As I said earlier, counties, states, cities, all across this nation issue bonds every day. It would be probably not within my imagination to know just how many billions and trillions of dollars are being transacted each day to assist counties, cities, and the state with economic development projects. What other kind of strategy are you talking about putting together? That's what I don't understand. And individuals are not going to continue to work for you without being hired and paid.
Let me just say, Ms. Keller, I don't mean to be confrontational at all. I say it again, I'll say it again what I said before. I'm one of the initiators of the project. You know, and as the boy can say, I'm in love with the project. But I also, this is my personal opinion, I say that all the pieces are not here. And the reason I say all the pieces are not here, one, I won't mention that that's a real problem that we're going to face, that you all are going to face in moving forward with the project. But that we'll leave that one for another day.
Mr. Smith, excuse me.
Let me finish, man. Let me finish. But the one that I will mention is this. I say to you, all the pieces having as much knowledge, I hope, as anybody else on the project. All the pieces are not together. All the information is not on the table. And the reason I say that is because we do not know exactly what the real financial part of this project is going to be. We have no idea. We're in the middle of setting up, and I mentioned this, the utility district. We're trying to do the water sewer. We're having to work with other, again, political subdivisions to get that part of it. If you build it and that does not have that part of it, you still don't have a project. I'm saying to you, and this is my personal opinion, that all of these pieces has to come together. And I think before we, it may be that the issuing needs to be more or less or whatever. And if we can bring these people together to see what part everybody is going to play, then I think it's time to move forward. And I'd love for us to be able to move forward yesterday. But I don't think that, me personally, I don't think I'm ready to sign on the dotted line, not having all the pieces that I think I need to have.
Supervisor Smith, in regards to the utility district, this board has given the authority to move forward in presenting the resolution of activities and legal requirements regarding the utility district. you cannot provide utilities until you have infrastructure in it, such as well, I guess you could, but in this instance, it wouldn't be feasible. You cannot, we need the road in place, the corridor in place, prior to putting the utilities down. The utilities,
No.
the utilities,
Hold on.
the utilities,
Talk to the engineer. Hold on.
but anyway, the utilities will basically pay for themselves. And if Mr. Galen, if you could address how the process will work regarding the utilities.
Yes, well, with regard to the proposed utility district, at some point, the board will agree on a designated portion of property that is going to be within the district. Several months ago, I met with you all and showed you a proposed drawing of what that district could represent, and it included several parcels of property from the northern end near Bolton all the way down to the southern end near Bachman. And in talking with and meeting with the engineers over the course of several months, we thought that that would probably be a very workable plan. Clearly, it's going to require more discussions and conversations and agreements with some of the other landowners as well. But we do have the agreement of several of the primary owners for the area. So, with regard to that, once that area has been defined and the board adopts resolutions, and we'll get that process going with regard to setting up the utility district. But the utilities itself, at some point, will be placed along the corridor. And the thought was that the utilities would basically ultimately pay for themselves at some point. But the thought was that the corridor would be established, and the utilities aspect of that would be established next. But
could you go ahead and explain when you say the utilities will pay for themselves? Would you explain that, please?
Well, any users of utilities obviously would have to pay a certain rate for those utilities. But there's also a utility assessment that can be put in place as well along that corridor for the infrastructure that will be put into the ground. That's still to be determined.
And Mr. President, we have had discussions after discussions after discussions about this corridor and about utilities. We've had discussions after discussions regarding the engineering design plans. As a matter of fact, years ago we selected a route along the corridor that we thought would be best suited for economic development. We have had discussions after discussions regarding ordinances, code setup, zoning, the type of zoning ordinance that will be shared, that will be required for the corridor. How much more information do you need? You keep saying all of the pieces are not there, and yet when you express your concerns, these concerns have already been addressed based upon meetings after meetings, and some of us have chosen to get involved and some of us have not chosen to get involved. So those that have not chosen to get involved, why hold up the project?
I hope you're not saying I'm
No, I'm getting ready to say you. The thing is, Mr. Smith, you have been involved in all of these discussions up until this Monday that you have expressed opposition
No,
to
no.
moving forward.
expressing
You are expressing opposition to moving forward. You, for some reason, you want to hold up this project.
No, I do not. I do see some pieces, I say again, this is me personally, if y'all can choose, not put together.
What
And
pieces?
if you want to, if you don't feel that those pieces need to be put together,
If you would
move forward.
If you would share with me what pieces you were
I
talking
just
about.
told you what the pieces are.
But the engineering, we've approved the engineering design plans. We have, I guess I don't understand.
But anyway,
And then you mentioned there was
okay.
one item where you said that there was
If
one
it's
item.
me, then I'll move aside, I'll take what's played the board.
Okay. Let me, okay. But anyway,
I definitely would not, a project that I put on, if I put more time into this than, what's the fix?
We've gone back and forth. I think we're having some good discussion here. But I have some specific questions before we get into the emotions that I'd like to ask. Because, and this is on the documentation that we received yesterday afternoon, I believe, yesterday morning. In our discussion on Monday, I expressed concern about the money that would be made, I guess for lack of a better term, about restructuring over a 3-year period, and then the monies that would be paid back over the remainder part. On the proposal sent in on page 6, and I'm not sure, I think Mr. Gaylor sent it to us, I'm not sure who prepared the actual document itself. But could you go over that line by line with me? Here's my concern. I have come up with a figure of an increased indebtedness to the county of $12 million. We went round and round in this, and I wanted it in the minutes verbatim via the recordings that we had Monday in the meetings, because we were told, no, it's going to be $600,000 over the course of the project. But what I'm seeing here by the number, this is why I want you to explain this to me, because I'm not a financial wizard. And what I'm seeing here is approximately $5 to $6 million in the first 3 years of money the restructuring will allow the county to use for whatever reason. Okay? Then I'm seeing over the next, from 2016 to 2031, 2016 to 21, projections that indicate that the money made, $5 to $6 million, will end up being a $5 million loss or addition to the bottom line of the restructuring. That means that you got to spend, that means that you get the $6 million, and then you have to give that $6 million back, and then you have to bring in an additional $5 million to get to a minus $5 million, but you have to go back down to zero. This is getting back closer to the $12 million figure that I had concerns about. So can you clarify that for me? What the projections is, this is on page 6 of the document, what the projections are for the first 3 years, and I'm just going to use the term new money because I don't know another term to use. I'm sure there's a better term than that. But money brought about by the restructuring, and then starting in 2016, the monies that will be that will bring about, I guess, the increased indebtedness and what appears to me to be an overall debt of $5 million, but in actuality, it's going to have to be $12 million in indebtedness to make up for the initial monies that were made.
Well, before I answer that question, and here's a simple explanation for that. I think that goes back to my initial point I made when I came up to the podium, which is these have to be vetted by a financial advisor. Now, if when we send information to Tony Gaylor, who's the attorney for the board, and then he sends that information out to the board in a wholesale, there's information that has to back that up. And there's a presentation that should be made to the board which details exactly what's going on. Now, with those numbers in finance, you have the present value calculation. So the way the deal is structured, yes, the county saves in the first 3 years, I believe it's a little over $5 million, and the numbers change. what you have to do, you have to present value that number back. So in essence, what's happening is the county will that this savings are $1 million. So you're going to basically pay $1 million in present value savings over the life of the bonds, but you're saving $5 million. So the numbers that he gave you are raw numbers. Then there's a present value calculation. And in finance, what you do, you take a present value calculation. You say, okay, what are we going to pay for this on a present